So apparently we shook the car so hard and now the door won't open. Alright, what's going on everybody? Today we're down here at US 13 Dragway. They're doing some bracket racing, but they're also doing testing too. Now, you may be wondering to yourself, why are we here? I'm going to be honest with you, the weather for South Carolina, State of the Union doesn't look too hot right now. So, I figured we'd take this opportunity to go somewhere local and do a little ET chasing. A lot of you guys have been asking me about what does the car run. Well, I'll tell you what, there's a couple of reasons why I'm not always just blurting out the times. Number one, the times don't always equate, right? What may be a fast pass on a crappy surface may not sound that good. A low 6-second pass may not sound that good, but you might have to understand that that surface might only take a high 5-second pass at its very best at that given time. So the no prep times don't always equate super well, and then the other part of it is the respect, right? So I don't care if you guys know what I run. I think any racer that races pretty much knows it's not that hard for us to look at a car and figure it out. But a lot of the other guys, maybe they don't want their time shown, and if I say, well, this is what I ran, and you see how bad I beat somebody or somebody beat me, you can very easily tell what their ET was. So out of respect for other racers, I don't always blurt out the time. But tonight, that's going to change. We've got a fresh set of slicks. We've got a game plan. We are going ET chasing. I'm going to show you guys the logs. I'm going to show you guys the boost ramps, the everything we're doing, and I'm going to show you guys the time slips. So today is just all about making improvements on the combination we have. They're calling us up for testing tune now, so I'm about dressed. Let's fire this thing up and make some rips. We got a brand new set of slicks on there, so I've got it turned down a little bit in the 60 foot. Hopefully that'll do as well. But I also found that when we were at Capitol, it was getting a little happy with the wheel speed, just slamming all the boost in right away. So it's something we're gonna play with. We might play with shift points today. Heck, I might get greedy. We might even play with some timing. Not all sure what we're doing yet, but we're definitely ET chasing. And I'm gonna show you guys the slips. It's finally happening today. Let's see what the Nova runs. Sticky track stuff. That'll happen. Thank you. Yeah, that 60 foot was terrible. Rough. Yeah. It shook the tire, and that dramatically affected the 60 foot. And then it shifted, it did the low drop again. We went 149 to the 60 foot, 390 to the 330, 602 at 115 to the 8th. But it did that stupid, which it should have had way more boost in it than it would have needed to make that shift. So one day, everything will go right. I was trying to go like at least a 590 off the trailer, like just kind of get us, you know, right into the mood. That's what I told the tech guy I went. That's why I went that, because I told the tech guy who'd go. I was like, oh, good, like 60. Yeah, it went 602 at 115. Screw me. Damn it, man. All right, so I just looked at the videos a little bit. Actually, luckily for us, the guy who built my transmission is one pit over. So it was awesome to kind of catch up with him and ask him just a few quick questions I had. One of the things he told me that piqued my interest was that if we shift higher, it should loosen the converter. So right now we've been seeing like an 800 RPM drop on a 7,000 shift. I'm interested to see what it would look like at a 7,200. Now the problem we have is this thing had 22 pounds of boost in it at the shift, and it still did that stupid thing where it dropped from 7,100 down to 5,100, 2,000 RPM. And I asked him, I said, is it a heat thing? Like, I've been thinking maybe it's a heat thing. He's like, I don't think the heat would make it react like that. We either have to go one of two ways, as silly as this sounds. We either need to bring all the power in a lot quicker, because it seemed like it got out and it extended real well, and then when it got to the top of its travel and it was kind of doing that bouncing thing, I found with this car that when it does that bouncing thing, it wants more power. If I have more power in it to keep it up, it's happier. So we could either give it more power up front, see if it'll hold on and do it that way, or we can lower the power so it doesn't spin the tire, because we had a pretty aggressive boost ramp in there. I'll show it to you guys, where we left on 10 pounds. We immediately take it to 12. So the boost ramp starts at 12, because when you let go of the button, as you can see here, let go of the button, 40, 200 RPM, it likes to flash up to, you know, well, it's hard to tell where wheel speed and stuff started here, but it will flash up to about 6,000 RPM, you know, 5,000 plus. So I like to always give it more boost than what we're leaving with. And then I jammed it all in within 1 second. Now we do still have some launch retard in here, because I was trying to avoid that wheel speed, but if we take all that out and turn it up, I think it might go down the track better, as weird as that sounds, instead of turning it down. But it's about power, suspension, all that. We could maybe tighten the front shocks a little bit. I'm sure that wouldn't hurt, but I'm really interested to see what happens when we start shifting a little bit later. So right now, I think, screw it, we'll try it. We'll give it more power where I think it wants it. And then from there, we'll also try riding out the shift to 7,200. Right now, I think it commands it at 7,000. Outputs, shift out, configure, 7,000 RPM, and it shifts at 71. So let's add 200 RPM to it. So let's do 72 and see if it shifts at 73. And we still don't know exactly what dome gets us to 25, what dome pressure. 29 is not it. Obviously through that last run we didn't make enough. So 31 it is. It's time to party. Let's see, we've tightened the front suspension, plus added some power, because I find that when it gets up and it starts bouncing, like the front end, you know what I mean, starts to like bounce, it's happier if it has more power and just keeps the front end up. So we brought in the power a little sooner, and we tightened the front shocks to kind of help stop it from coming up so fast. We'll see what happens. I also forgot, that was the first pass of these slicks. So maybe that has something to do with it. sir.
It had to have shook the hell out of you.
I ain't having this problem on the Mickeys. Yeah, it shook the hell out of me. Yeah, it went 155 to the 60, 399, 610 at 116. I think it did the shift thing again. I don't know why it's doing it. I was going faster 60 foots on the street on worn out Mickeys. Like, what the hell is going on there? So, I guess I'll just turn it down to baby soft, get it down the track. It's ridiculous. So apparently we shook the car so hard it hit the lock mechanism, and now the door won't open. Talk about some shit you cannot make up. Dukes of Hazzard it is. Oh, I'm too old for this shit. I think you're supposed to say yeehaw when you do stuff like that. Tire shake is awesome. Alright, so we've got one of two choices. We can turn it way down, or we can turn it way up and try to induce wheel speed. I don't think it's going to induce wheel speed with the way that the car is currently set up, and the weight of it, and everything else. So, for the heck of it, we tried turning it down quite a bit. At this point, they've been back and forth. Nick just texted me that they were supposed to make a decision tonight, then they said they're going to make a decision tomorrow. At this point, I don't know. We're going to make one more pass. If it shakes the tire again, we're done messing with this. The car's just not set up, and I'm not removing the weight. We ain't playing that game, so we'll go from there. Because it dropped 2,000 RPM again.
Yeah.
And I don't know where to look. Like,
if I was going to build a new motor right now,
power, I mean, I thought it needed 20 pounds. Every time we get more than 20 pounds, she was happy. The problem is I can't turn it up enough to make up the ET. Like, this thing should have gone 580s pretty easily, has before everything else. Like, you know, we were going to try to go crack off 70s, 60s, start working our way down, but it's not working. We left off with the track the other night, kind of upset and frustrated. That was for a number of reasons. One, we couldn't get the car to work right. You know, we were back and forth on the South Carolina trip, and long story short, they ended up rescheduling the big race, but they were still going to race Friday, and blah, 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 blah. And ever since then, I have just gotten beaten over the head. Airbnb thing, I had a whole situation with Airbnb. The guy wouldn't respond to nothing. He wouldn't pick up the phone, everything. So long story short, I pretty much lost out on a lot of money on that. I was trying to get it rescheduled for the next race. They didn't want to do that. Then come to find out, it looks like the water line that goes into my house from the well is busted. So if you see, I've been under the house digging and working and everything, trying to get that figured out. I think we finally figured out that's the issue. But yesterday, I was giving this thing kind of a once-over, and we figured we were having problems with the converter. I don't know, you're gonna be able to see it on camera super well, but that stuff is super glittery, right? So we pulled the trans fluid out, and after discussing with some folks and everything, we seem to believe that the converter is an issue, which is kind of okay because I wanted to swap converters anyway, and I felt that this one was a little too tight. So shout out to my buddy. He's like, hey man, they're doing this race, local US 13 Dragway Friday night, whatever, a little no prep deal, and I got a converter here. So I went over and grabbed the converter, and today we got to a point where I'm like, well, I gotta fix the water in the house, I gotta fix the race car, I gotta fix a few things. We got a bunch of stuff to do. We start getting ready to get after it. You see I got the car jacked up. I'm like, look, you know, I could probably swap this converter probably 2 hours, right, on the ground. You know, if it was up in the air on a lift, probably less than an hour, but on the ground, we'll say 2 hours. We'll head down there, we'll race, and hey, you know, I think that this race, it was a front side no prep, and it's probably going to be a lot of local guys. They didn't even announce the race until like 24 hours before it was supposed to happen, so I didn't anticipate there being a large turnout, but something we could possibly win, put a few bucks in the pocket, you know, so I can keep working on fixing the house. Was getting ready to do that, and then I noticed that when we pulled it off the trailer the other night, we didn't start it up, we just pulled it off the trailer, but there was some water underneath it in the garage. Didn't think nothing of it. You know, water gets trapped in places and whatever. So I get under there today, and it started dripping again. And I'm like, okay, well, let's figure out where this drip is coming from, because that's a really awkward place. And come to find out, it looks like it's dripping out of the head gasket, which means the other day when I got wild on the backside over there at Capitol, probably hurt a head gasket. I don't think we did any damage to the motor, the block, the pistons, none of that. I think maybe we just, you know, maybe we just nicked the head gasket. So now we're kind of at a point where, all right, we got some fixing to do. We got to get a new converter in there. I wanted to flush the cooling system, do all of that. I don't think that the trans needs to be refreshed. I'm pretty sure that once we pull the converter out, we'll see what's going on there. And then, but now we got to take a head off, and of course it's on the turbo side. We got to take all this stuff off and everything else. So we're not making the race tonight. And unfortunately, I got a house to fix, and my family having water is a little more important than, you know, going racing. I'm not sure what's quite going to happen yet. We're supposed to be at UCC next week, racing the gas versus diesel, a small tire, no time deal. We could throw a head gasket in it, we could throw the converter in it, we could try rocking like that. But I do want to take a good look at it, because this backup motor has really proved pretty fruitful for us. It's been working really pretty well. So I don't want to just, you know, slap some stuff in there. I mean, we'll take a look at it. If it looks good, we'll slap a head gasket in there or whatever. Or is it time to finally buck up and order the rest of the parts for the thing you see behind me, which is the good motor? I'm not scared of the tune-up or anything else. I don't really think we've got too many issues. Hurting a head gasket is not the most uncommon thing in the world. That's minute, and part of it may just be because, you know, why we want to go to that other block and motor. I want to get a good set of heads on it that has the head thickness, the deck thickness that we need, because that seems to be a limiting factor on the stock block stuff. When you start pushing more and more boost, that seems to be an issue. Is that what the issue is right now? I don't know. We haven't dove into it. But I didn't want to kind of leave you guys hanging, because, you know, we left the track in a rush the other day. I was kind of, you know, pissed off just because the car wasn't working right. And then we were like trying to get home because we may have still been going to South Carolina. We didn't know. So here's where we're at. I mean, I'm not going to lie. For the amount of abuse we've been putting this thing through, and never once on it. Now, granted, the timing is incredibly safe. I mean, the timing is safe to the point I could probably throw 2 degrees in it without even looking at a plug. But this thing's been performing incredibly well. And we have been doing a lot with it in a short amount of time. I mean, what do you think? By now, probably 100 passes. You know what I mean?
Getting up there.
Between testing, between traveling, between everything. If it needs a little freshen up, I don't think that's the end of the world whatsoever. Right now, we're going to take a break. We're going to pause. I'm going to go work on some water for the house. And then I've got a decision to make, because if we're going to talk about swapping motors right now, we need a few more things. We still need heads, we still need lifters. I'd like to get a new oil pan just because this one's cracked and fixed, but I'd rather just get a new one. There's some parts we'd have to get in order, and it would take a little bit of time to, number one, raise some more funds, number two, actually allow them to come in. We still got a Regal that needs to be finished too. So maybe now's a good time to set this off to the side, leave it together, start ordering my parts. Maybe it's time to jump back on the Regal. So I'm not quite sure what we're going to do yet. First, I'm going to go fix my house. I want to thank you guys for always tuning in, always supporting, always making it happen. When we get to this point where I'm ready to start tearing this thing down, I'll show you guys everything, you know, I'll show you what it looks like and whatnot. We just, right now you can't really see anything. It just looks like a little bit of seepage, the head gasket itself. Derek has been convinced. He's like, you're down on power, you're down on power. He's like, I'm telling you, that's what's going on. Now, do I think the converter's messed up too? Yes. A lot of people have been asking. I said the times in the video we ran at the track. I will tell you right now, I won't tell you when, where, how, but I will tell you that right now this thing has netted us a personal best of 580 at 122. Let me pull out the draggy. And that was on about 22, 23 pounds of boost. And that was actually with a slower 60 foot. We've gone faster to 60 than we did that pass. So there you guys have it. It's gone 580s. It will consistently go in the high fives. Obviously, you see when we went to the track, it went 6.0 after 6.0 after 6.0 because it just wasn't making the gear change. Something wasn't happy. It wasn't right. This stuff here, it's starting to get to the point where, you know, where we're not. I hate to say it, but when we were running 650s, 670s, that was way easier than running 580s, 590s. There's a lot more that goes into it. When you break stuff, it's more expensive. When you do all that kind of stuff, so it's definitely been a little bit more stressful. Not that I'm saying we're giving up on it, I'm just saying it's a little more stressful. Let me go fix this water. I'll catch up with you guys next time. I'm gonna go crawl into my house and hate my life. Nobody wants to. We got a crawl space. I was in there with a shovel earlier, and it was like, because I got to dig. I'm trying to dig this line out, and I'm like, ding, ding. Okay, I can't use a shovel. I had to use my hands to dig. It's been a nightmare. I'll catch you guys next time. We'll get the house fixed, and then I'll get a solid game plan on what we're doing with this, how we're doing it. The one thing I don't want to do right now is start ripping it apart and then leaving it halfway apart without a game plan of how it's going back together. That's just going to make a mess and headache and everything else. Catch you guys next time.